right, so you've heard me argue for putting all of our strings into strings.xml, right? Kind of isolating everything there. And you might be wondering why I've made such a big deal out of it. You don't really need it technically, but you know what can you do with it? And actually, let's go through a little demo here of actually dealing with localization, right? So we'll make a language change here, and really use that as a springboard for a quick discussion about other resources that are loaded at runtime, right? I mean, landscape layout is one of them, but there are certainly many others. So sort of motivating this here. Certainly, values that we have can depend not only on screen orientation or anything like that, but on locale, right? So again, you saw layouts change on the fly because in resources we have multiple folders for the various different types of layouts that may be needed. But if we look at other resources, right? So we have values here, right? So we had things like colors and so on. All right, so what happens there? We just have strings.xml, but what if we made values in French or values in Espanol, right, or Spanish? You know, could we do things like having a string that was still identified as hello, but the actual text here changes, right? And that's what I'd like to show you. Let's go to Eclipse. Okay, so here I have my values folder, and what I'm going to do is make a new folder again, like I did before. So make a new folder, and inside the resource folder, we'll call it values.es, right, for Spanish, or -es, I should say. And inside here, I want a strings, right? So copy my strings.xml, slide it up here, put it in strings.xml, and so this is the one that's in values es. Now what I can do is change any ones that I want to, right? So maybe I'm really concerned about the main title, right? So this should say something like, let's see, apaga las luces. All right, so my Spanish is a bit rusty, so forgive my pronunciation. What I'm going to do is go ahead and delete everything else, right? Since that's maybe the only one that I care about here. All right, so I'll save that, and I'm going to take this and I'm gonna load it up. Now I'll be honest, it's a huge pain on the emulator, just because the emulator is really slow to change things here. But what I need to do is go into settings and make a change there. Right, I'm actually going to show you on my phone itself because I think it's a little bit faster. So on my phone, let's see what we've got here. Is hopefully you can see that it says lights out. What I'm going to do is go back to my main screen, and I'm going to go to the settings up here in the corner. And under settings, if we scroll far enough, we should see there's something for language and input. So I'm going to click there, and then at the top it says language, and I can scroll through and set my language. So I'm going to set this to Espanol. I'll just choose the Estados Unidos one here, and this is actually going to set my whole phone so that now it's in Spanish, right? So that's fine. Let's go back and bring up my app. Right, so my app here, the Lights Out app. Let's bring it up, and you'll see here that it's suddenly in Spanish. Right, now you'll notice it's only the title, because that's the only strings value that I defined in Spanish. Right, but certainly if I wanted a completely localized app, I could change them all. Right, and if I knew Spanish, it would go a lot quicker. So anyway, very interesting, very quick thing to do, at least as far as the programming aspect, if we've been really methodical and disciplined about storing off all our strings. In fact, we could even hand it to someone else who is bilingual, and they could do the translations for us. Let's see what else we have here. That's not the only resource that you can load at runtime. In fact, if you look in the developer docs about specifying resources, they actually have a huge number of things that determine which resources are going to be loaded, right? So you could say, which country are we in, not just which language, right? The text direction doesn't just always go from left to right, so for Arabic or Hebrew or so on. Screen sizes, right, can all have different layouts, maybe different screen densities and aspect ratios if you had a widescreen versus more of a square aspect ratio. You might want a different colors if your app was being run at night. And I think about and the GPS apps or whatever, that when you use them in the car, they kind of fade at night so that they're not so much of a distraction. And then even different kind of input modalities. You might want to design different parts of your app differently depending on whether you had an on-screen keyboard or a physical keyboard and so on. So accessing them is incredibly easy because you don't do any work. As soon as it gets loaded onto the appropriate device or the appropriate orientation or country or language or whatever, it's just gonna happen, right? So what we need to do then is, of course, create the specialized resources. And if you look here, it just talks about how you should name the folders and so on. But the key is really just testing your app and making sure that it works on whatever devices you're targeting, right? And if you don't have all those devices, like most of us probably don't, you can set up various emulators, with those settings, right? So it's certainly possible to do. All right, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you later.